Alrighty. So for those of you who are watching this as a YouTube video, this is going to be my synopsis video on the newest patch, Indomitable, for Paladins, Champions of the Realm. I'm going to start with the small changes and go into the large changes. There's only a few characters that got any changes this patch. It was surprisingly small. But, you know, we'll start off with Barrick. Barrick's change is very simple. They have reverted the health buff they gave him 1 to 2 patches ago, which... it's a shame. It makes the whole thing pretty much a waste of time, but I guess Barrick was too much of a must-have as a tank. He was just outclassing the other tanks in every way, I guess. So yeah, that's been reverted, and that's all there really is to tell about him. Next up is Yagarath. Let me find her. There she is. I forget this is in alphabetical order. Yagarath received a lot of changes, and I do not think they will be overall for the better, but we will have to wait and see. She lost 500 HP. They reduced her passive resistance from damage reduction from 40% to 35%. They have reduced the damage on both her talent and her base damage to where when you use her talent, you have the same damage as she did at base before. And then they also they nerfed the health of her ultimate when she's using it from 4,000 HP to 3,500. And then finally, the last change I know of for sure, they haven't released any patch notes, or if they have, they haven't posted them on social media, so I haven't been able to see what additional changes that might have been made that I don't even know about yet. They reduced the damage that her quills do from 200 to 170. So she received a lot of nerfs all at once, and I was really surprised by this, but apparently some people thought she was that strong. The devs, in my opinion, gave very flimsy reasons for nerfing her. According to them, the characters that were performing the best, balance-wise, were the characters that were either assisting her the most or beating her the hardest. Which, in my opinion, sounds really backwards. They nerfed her in order to see where the stats of other champions go. And I really think Yagarath needed to be streamlined and not sledgehammer nerfed like she was. But there are people on social media who are, in my opinion, not the brightest folk, that honestly think she deserved everything she got and that she was super OP, blah blah blah. I think the real problem here is that Yagarath is a champion that takes time to understand, especially if you don't play her, and most of the naysayers I've noticed have never played a moment of her or barely played any of her, and then they just claim this based on what it was like going against Yagarath without taking into account the fact that their teammates may not be very good, the fact that their team comp may have been bad, whatever. Anyway. I think it's going to come out when people finally realize, especially now that she's in ranked and people can deliberately counterpick characters against her. I think people are going to finally start realizing just how many weaknesses and how many things counter her kit. And when they do, they're going to realize she didn't need the nerfs that she got, at least not all of them. Maybe a couple of them to make her less frustrating for some people, but at the same time I think they went overboard with it. I also found out that it appears that doing headshot damage to Yagarath works differently than I thought it did, because it appears that my friend and I are predicting, based on this one little moment I had when I was playing Octavia, we think that Yagarath calculates the damage reduction on the base damage of the attack, but then after that it applies the damage multiplier for headshots. Now the reason we think this is because Octavia does about 500 damage per bullet, I believe, or 550. I can't remember which it is. But when you shoot Yagarath in the head with Octavia's gun at closer range, she does up to about 650 damage, maybe a bit more. So I'm assuming that that's how it works, and if that is the case, that's really rough because it makes headshotting Yagarath just chew through her defenses. Hey, Master Kill. How you doing? I'm in the middle of making a video. Just hang on. So anyway, that's why I feel like Yagrath is being overestimated by a lot of people, and it's no big deal, man. I'm just saying that if I just ramble on it, that's why. All right, and then so yeah, that's all Yagrath's changes. We'll see where she lands. So far, killing Yagrath has been pretty much a breeze, at least in my experience. I don't know what other people's experience are right now. So let's get to the main event, shall we? Oh, whoops. Did I change champion? Let's get to the new girl herself, Octavia.
Add attention, soldier.
So as you can see, she's got her passives here. You get to pick one of these at the start of each game, and once you select one, you can't switch it. So far, Commander's credit is showing to be the dominant one. It's been nerfed twice already. It already gives less credits and takes more champions to activate than it did before, but it's still dominating in terms of just being better than most of the other passives. They buffed Commander's shield a little, so it might be a slightly more appealing option if you don't have a healer or something. And then Commander's ultimate, it's just good. Commander's cooldown's looking like the least important one, but it's still really good. So let's pick up credit. She's got her 3 talents here. We got Asymmetric Warfare, her Distortion Field, which we'll get into that, will cause her to deal, will damage for 125 every 0.5 seconds, so that's 250 damage a second. That's actually kind of crazy. For the duration of the field, and heals allies for 150 a second while inside the field, so not too bad. We got Display of Force, my personal favorite. Enemies are rooted if they get hit with the pre-fire beam on her ultimate, and the barrage itself does more damage, 1450 to be exact, which once again we'll get to explain all this whenever I get into her main kit. And then Hell or High Water, when she uses her mobility, her leap, and lands, she creates a pool of healing that will heal you and any allies close enough to you for 600 health over 1.5 seconds, and while you're standing inside this green pool, Octavia will not consume ammo. So Display of Force is my favorite. This is my loadout. Her cards are pretty basic, so I'm not going to go too much into them. So let's go into her base kit. First up, she has her scope. That's her alternate fire, I guess you could call it. When you're aiming down the scope, you do more damage, and you fire a bit slower. She got some recoil you got to manage, but it's not too bad once you practice with it. This is what it's like if you don't ADS. You do less damage, but you can shoot a lot faster. It's you still have to trigger finger it, and it has a lot of recoil, so it's not the best thing in the world.
These items are going to bring us that much closer to victory.
And then you got her leap, which I mentioned earlier. Really good mobility. You get a lot of air, and the best part, and her scope has one other feature. While she's in the air, if you ADS, she floats in the air for 2.5 seconds, as long as you're holding down the scope. You can combine this with her leap to get some really cheeky shots and get some really good shooting positions. It's her main benefit in combat. And then her final, and then last but not least, of course, is her ultimate.
This is our battlefield, soldier.
You just fire a carpet bombing barrage of lasers, which with this talent I have, they do a lot of damage. It'll also wreck through any shields, and it's just a good pressure tool.
Add attention, soldier.
So, what are my thoughts on her? Well, I played her a little bit over the last few days. Her gun does a lot of damage, especially if you're hitting headshots. Like, you'll delete people with this thing. It does have damage drop off over range, but even from this range, as you can see, the Victor's still taking some pretty healthy damage even from this range. She's very good at poking and keeping a good constant firing pressure up on the enemy team. She does have a weakness when you get her up in close range, although you can mitigate this with the card that reduces which makes it to where you have more movement speed when ADS, so you can just ADS and not really care too much about the ADSing when up close.
Unstoppable!
Her passive, I really don't like that it's on a damage champion. I feel like this is something that would be more geared towards a support champion. I understand it goes with her theme, but at the same time, it just doesn't seem right that a champion that already has the benefits of having some of the highest damage in the entire game also has really good mobility, the ability to float midair and shoot from high ground without needing to stand on anything for a couple seconds, and has the ability to give her whole team a buff. And these buffs are not small ones. These are very impactful. I worry that she's going to become a necessity in the game. So far, she doesn't feel like she herself doesn't feel super oppressive or overpowered, at least not yet. But this is early days for her and some champions. And I mean, a lot of people, and myself included, thought Yagarath was like the worst champion ever released when she first came out. But apparently she was so good that she required nerfs to basically her entire kit, even though I don't agree. So you never know. Opinions change as time goes on. But I worry that her passives alone are going to make her a must-have, because, I mean, that is just a huge boon just to have that. Just to be able to say, hey, hey, entire team, guess what? You either get cooldown reduction, shields every time you spawn, ultimate charge, or you get extra credits, which is a very powerful effect, no matter how you slice it. Her kit, you know, she's got like stuff like her distortion field, which can be really annoying to deal with. It's basically a super fancy smoke bomb. Your allies can see through it, but your enemies cannot. The enemies are also slowed slightly inside the field, but that's not super huge. The Commander's Leap lets her get to high ground positioning super easily and just lay down constant streams of gunfire at the enemies. So, you know, she's a fun character. At the very least, I will say that. She is fun. Playing her has actually been quite enjoyable. I don't even really like playing characters that have to ADS in this game. I've never really played them too much because I've never liked how they felt, but with Octavia it's actually kind of fun to do so. And she can do some dirty things. I guess I could go into her cards a little bit, since she's fairly simple overall. She has some interesting interactions with her kit, but she's very simple at the end of the day. Oh no, that's not what I'm trying to do here. What am I trying to do here? Edit loadout. Here we go. So she's got, for cards to go with her distortion field, she can increase its radius by 4% up to 20%. Reduce the damage you take while inside the field up to 25%. Reduce the cooldown of the distortion field outright, and then reduce the leap of cooldown of Commander's Leap while you're standing inside a distortion field. It's not too bad. Then for her leap, she's got reduced damage whenever she's floating in the air using the scope. She's got reduced weapon recoil while using Commander's Leap, so while shooting in the air. She's got my personal favorite, High Ground, increases the jump strength. Nice card for 1 or 2 levels. You don't really need it much higher than that. As you can see, her leap has massive height. Then she has reduced the cooldown distortion field after using Commander's Leap. So she's got a couple cooldown cards there. For the sights, she has reducing movement speed penalty while aiming down sight. I love this card. I feel like at least a 4 on this one, or at least a 3 if you really want to, you know, be, you know, skimpy with it. Then you got Overwhelming Force, pretty awesome card. You generate ultimate charge up to 10% after getting a killing blow or elimination while you're ADSing. Snap to it, makes her ADS faster. Really good card. Would at least throw this in, even if it's only as a 1. It's really nice because you don't stop midair until you're fully ADS'd. So the faster this is, the more reactive your positioning can be in the air. And then while you're ADS, you can regen ammo for kills and eliminations. Nothing too crazy. And she's got her basic health boosting card. She's got Fire and Maneuver. You can get movement speed after getting a killing blow or an elimination up to 30%. Yeah, it's not too bad. Here's the basic resets your mobility when your health gets low card. And then she just has basic more bullets. So yeah, her cards are very basic, and she does not have... I did notice while I was making a build for her, she is one of the few champions, if not the only champion that I can think of off the top of my head, who has no cards in her that allow her to heal. That's probably why 2 of her talents are geared towards healing, because she doesn't have any cards that can do it. I found that was an interesting decision on the devs' part, that they gave her nothing that allows her to heal without a talent or an item. So, yeah. The video is gonna end right here, but I'm gonna continue the stream for those that are in the stream. And I'm gonna go play some Octavia and Yagrath and basically get more of a feel for how I feel they are currently sitting. But this is so far my impressions, and I felt like I should make this video and get it recorded. So if you're watching this on YouTube, thank you for watching, and if you're on stream, thank you for bearing with me while I made this video. I greatly appreciate it. I hope you guys are enjoying your games out there with Octavia, and hopefully she doesn't end up as bad as I think she might, but only time will tell. So, with that out of the way, have a very good day, guys, and I'll see you later.